Very good morning. My name is Arndt, Chief Customer Officer from smartShift, and we are talking today a little about SAP transformation, something which is a pretty big challenge, not only for BMW, but also especially for BMW. We are supporting BMW since many years, and I'm really happy that Ralf is joining me today on stage here. Ralf, why don't you introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, thanks, Arndt. So Ralf Scherer, my name, from BMW, and I'm leading the SAP transformation program there, which Arndt said is a very long and complicated one. And just to give you an idea where we are, maybe a quick introduction to BMW and our history with SAP. So we have a 32-year history now with SAP. Started in the early 90s. Company was growing back then, as was told to me by people who were there. I wasn't there, so sort of always looking at SAP, but never really willing to decide for R2. So waiting until R3 had a certain degree of maturity and started with several systems in the US plant, in South Africa, in the Steyr, in the engine plant, but also in the headquarters for finance, and then eventually systems grew. And in 2007, we started with something that we do until today with SAP, which is co-innovation. So I always like to say, obviously, one part of a clean core is convincing SAP to put your requirements into standard. That keeps the core clean.
Yep.
So that's why we like that. And then in 2014, we started with the first HANA systems on the VW side, and in 2019 with the S4 transformation. So we're in year 5 already, but it was sort of a slow starter. And in 2023, actually in 22, cloud transformation came along. So we had to sort of figure that one in, the SAP transformation. And now we're sort of in our next co-innovation, but that's not signed yet, so I cannot really talk about it. Anyway, we have 94, last counting, productive instances at BMW, not counting the Java stacks, if one might ask. We tackle that basically going towards S4 and the cloud in sort of 3 major blocks. First block is what we call greenfield initiatives. So we do 3 new templates, replacing old ECC systems, 3 focus area, plant logistics, finance, and after sales. And that leaves still about 40% of the systems that we do a brownfield conversion in a conversion factory with SAP. So an in-place conversion, for the techies. So not a blue field or a shell conversion, but really an in-place conversion. And then some stuff we already had on S4, so because we implemented right away, so no need to transform it there, unless obviously we need to go to the cloud. And in this move to cloud project that we're doing, so we are going fully on RISE. And inside of RISE, we even have a multi-hyperscaler strategy, so we don't go into one hyperscaler in RISE, but mainly in 2. We have 77 SIDs already up and running in RISE, so not all of them are live IDs, but when you ramp up, obviously you get a lot of test boxes and stuff. So we have 9 landscapes migrated and 2 landscapes converted. So that's the status right now. But actually we wanted to talk about custom code. And in custom code, we have to mainly tackle 2 things. One is obviously in the greenfield area, there is some stuff that has some value. So we sort of have to pick the good from the evil and really look in what we want to take over in the new world of S4. And that has to be made ready for S4, and that's where smartShift is helping us. And so since some systems are actually quite old, there's a lot of stuff. And already, I think 5 or 7 years ago, we sort of did a scan. This was one of the, not one of the first things, but one of the early things with smartShift, that we looked in our really core finance system of BMW AG, and we looked at a period of 15 months, because that sort of always covers then 2 year-end closings, right? That's why looking at 15 months is always a sort of a good idea and sort of a good time span. And 71% of our custom code has never been used within this period. So, and actually talking to smartShift and talking to SAP and others, they said that's a pretty comparable average. So that's quite normal, that about 70%, 65% of custom code is just never used. So there's a lot to clean up, and that's obviously the other thing. We have, from time to time, we get huge audit reports. It has to be made sure that all new code that still is being done in some areas basically adheres to our corporate coding guidelines. That it's cleaned up, that it's S4 ready. So we have this huge technical debt. And as it's written here, compliance, I think last year, 17,000 findings. Shouldn't even say that, but we cleaned that out in one run. So there's a lot of legacy to be dealt with. And obviously going forward, we want to enforce our coding guidelines. We also use our coding guidelines and these check program towards vendors. So at BMW, we like to procure everything in a statement of works and not in the time and material. S&T CEO is nodding, he knows that from his own encounters with our purchasing department. And actually, so we always try to make that as sort of a SOW criteria, that obviously the code that is applied to BMW adheres to our coding standards, quite obviously. So we use all these tools to check that. So clean out the system and take out, and then obviously take over the things that are worth keeping into the new S4 stack. Although I have to admit that since the S4 transformation started in 2019, a lot of the stuff happened in 2021, sort of 2020, and that was before ABAP Cloud, and ABAP Cloud was available even in the on-prem S4 stack. So if it would have been available earlier, I have to quite honestly, we would have talked to smartShift to directly sort of move that over to ABAP Cloud. But as things are sometimes from timeline, you know, things don't work that way. So ABAP Cloud is still ahead of us, what we have to deal with. And since 2018, but actually even a little bit earlier, first projects earlier, we work with smartShift, and they are our central provider to keep us clean, so to speak, on the core side. Now I hand over to Arndt, and he's going to talk a little bit about how they do that exactly.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ralf, for also setting the stage. Obviously, BMW is a massive example, right? Everything is bigger at BMW. We are talking about 100 productive systems here, and huge transformation challenges. We talked about greenfield projects, we talk about brownfield projects. It's a huge transformation change. And when you look at that, there's always three main areas, right? You have to look at your business processes, you have to look at the data, and you have to look at your application somehow. BMW is partnering also with S&P. We are also partnering with S&P since this week. We also have a deepened partnership with S&P. Thanks, Jens, for that. And we are tackling the problem of custom code transformation and helping customers to get their systems cleaner, right? Clean core, it's a goal. To get there is a challenge. And our thinking, and I think we joined that with SNP, software-centric automation approach towards these massive transformation problems is the right thing to do, right? And we are actually doing that since 2002. We founded the company 2002, and our first challenges we solved were Unicode transformations, and some of you guys who started developing maybe before your career, you might remember fixing hundreds and thousands of syntax issues in code. And we actually thought, being in the 21st century, there are smarter ways than sending 50 people, 50 ABAPers who are doing repetitive coding on the systems, right? And so that is when we started to build our intelligent automation platform, which has actually been growing, always also triggered by our customers and triggered by SAP, because this is where we get our requirements, right? And SAP gave us HANA, you gave us problems around security compliance, then came S4HANA, and now comes the challenges around Clean Core, right? And all that means massive change impact on custom code. And the alternatives you have is either you start building everything from scratch. You could do that, but it's super costly, lengthy, and will also actually block your development force. Or you try to retain some of the investments you made and modernize them, right? And with automation, that is our approach. We want to do that. And how we do that is this little complicated slide here. We take your code, load it to our platform. We also take information from SAP standard tools and reports like ABAP Test Cockpit, simplification items to understand the change for S4HANA, but also usage statistics, where BMW actually is one of the excellent examples of how important that is, right? You guys made an early decision to store a lot of usage data, which enabled us to actually provide a smooth process to decommission code, right? So we take all this SAP information, we take the code from the systems, load it in our platform, and the first thing what we do is we deconstruct everything and analyze it, right? We have our own ABAP parser, we understand data flow, dependencies, and so on and so forth, with the ultimate goal, based on this knowledge, to automatically transform custom code based on transformation algorithms. And we have a set of around about 250 odd transformation algorithms, which can automatically tackle S4HANA compliance problems, HANA compliance problems, make code more performant, or even tackle latest ABAP cloud syntax or security problems in the code. And all that is done in a highly automated manner in a couple of computing hours. Obviously also then safeguarded by processes from our service delivery teams to actually make quality assurance on the whole thing, to actually guarantee the outcomes, which is guaranteed timelines, guaranteed speed, guaranteed quality in ways of error rates and stuff like that. So that is the baseline of our tooling. And we actually use that in a typical customer journey, right? We were talking about Clean Core a little. When we talk about some of your systems, they are still highly customized, right? We are talking still about 20, 30, 40,000 custom objects in this system. To getting to these new Clean Core principles, these new extensibility concepts, it's pretty tough, because it's not only, we are not talking about syntax changes, but we are also really talking about changing the architecture, right? We are going from sometimes old procedural ABAP to now service-oriented programming models, right? So it's not easy. Therefore, the typical journey, what we do, and we are following pretty much the same approach with you, Ralf, is we take your old existing ECC system, we utilize our platform to analyze the code, then we transform the code automatically, bring it to S4, and we also make sure that the dual maintenance process, which is necessary in this phase, is also automated. In this first step, we want to always include already a lot of optimization, right? Because there's still enough work to be done, so you can actually implement already some optimization in the first step. So we apply your coding guidelines, for example, or ABAP cloud standards already in this first step. And then we start looking at what is still there, what do you still need, and then re-architecting it for the new Clean Core principles. And that is the standard approach which we do with BMW, but also with many, many other customers. As I said, for BMW, everything is a little bigger. So we had to find a good way of working together. And so we designed pretty much a set of standard solutions and services for BMW. So for example, a certain system needs to be made security compliant, or a certain system has to be code retired, or a certain system has to move to S4HANA, right? So we defined a set of standard solutions, and BMW can actually call us pretty much 2 weeks up front and say, this system is going through this solution in the next couple of months. So super flexible, because we all know programs like the one Ralf is managing, they are open for change, right? Change is imminent everywhere, and you need flexibility. And what we built on top is we also built a framework where we guarantee certain SLAs around speed, code quality, and things like that. So that's the process, tool, process, also a program management setup which we have together. And Ralf is now talking a little about the results, what we achieved so far.
Yeah, thanks. So first, maybe I have to also start adding that we talked about our greenfield conversions before, and so you mentioned our partnership, but in our greenfield conversions, obviously each conversion is linked to a data migration in the end, and so right now, basically, we are partnering with SNP there for the future to build up a data migration factory, and then obviously for the coding part, still together with smartShift. So it's sort of basically to have a joint approach for data and for code, to get that over from the old world to the new world. But coming back to code, since 2015. Obviously, there's almost 140 projects, or as we call it, delivered. 53 landscapes, many lines of code and objects decommissioned. And yeah, I mean, you can always put your own numbers behind it. What's the lifetime cost of a coding line? But obviously, it's a good business case for us, having not to deal with all this stuff anymore. It always worked. That's also good. And obviously, we saved a lot of manpower that we wouldn't have had anyway. So it's not sometime that you save that, but it's you save resources you don't have anyway. So there's no option. All right. That's why for us, and many of these things, like coding, but also like data migration, the tooling side is in the decision path even the more important one, because it's not our approach basically to say we don't have the resources, let's go to some system integrator that has 2,000 people somewhere sitting in a hub, and we just replace resource X with resource Y and procure the resources. That's usually not our approach, but we try to use clever tools to bring down the resource requirements, and then in the end to work together with partners and then use our resources and the resources we have in our own hubs around the world to get these projects done. And quite honestly, not work so much with system integrators, right? That's not our concept anymore. So we have been internalizing many of the stuff. Obviously, we still do work with system integrators, but it's not really that we sort of give out a whole statement of works, a whole project to a system integrator, then basically does the whole feel-good program for you, like it used to be, in the 90s and 2000s. So that's not what we're doing anymore. So anyway, so we pick and choose. That is the message, and we try to find clever tools. And we think that within the coding sort of area, we found a pretty clever tool with smartShift. And that's why we're using it and planning to continue using it. And that's pretty much it. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask.
One thing to add, you covered this 87,000 custom objects we decommissioned. That is 12.7 million lines of code. We have the benchmark. We have done thousands of these projects, and so the average system is 20,000 custom objects, ECC system out there, 20,000 custom objects and 3 million lines of code, right? So we decommissioned pretty much 4 of these systems from a code-based perspective. And the magic about that is to do it in a way that it doesn't impact business. And I think we didn't had a single production incident that something was deleted which shouldn't have deleted, right? That is also one of our things is there's good tools. There's, for example, SCMON data and all that, but you need to also build tools and processes around that so that they are usable and also enterprise ready for customers like BMW. With that, we have 9 minutes left.
And I can say, sorry, that we really do have production critical systems.
I
know there's obviously various automotive OEMs that use SAP in one way or the other. I don't think that there is another OEM that uses it as much production critical down to the shop floor, actually. So, Sapphire last week, I talked to my counterpart from BASF, you know, large chemical company, and they have chemical processes running down in Ludwigshafen, not so far from here, and they just run and run and run. I mean, it's chemistry, and if their SAP system is gone, maybe they don't even realize it for an hour or something like that, you know, because it's basic chemistry. The process is run. That's fine. That's if our SAP system stops in the plant. Basically, after 60 seconds, we realize it because every 60 seconds is a car, and then, you know, material flow trickles down, and in the end, after some minutes, the plant would be completely stopped. So that's basically our situation. So it's a little different, and these systems have to run, and they always have to run, and also the custom code always has to run.
Exactly. Okay. With that, thank you, Ralf, for being with me on stage. Thanks for the great partnership. Also, thanks Jens and the SMP team for having us here. And if there's questions, we can answer them either directly or there's somewhere a green area where we can, behind there.
Okay.
And the smartShift booth is somewhere, they are waving, is there in the corner.
There in the right corner.
Okay.
Good.